Welcome to Brain Strength. I'm your host, RJ Lynch, mental performance consultant, and this is a video series where this old washed up athlete tries to teach you a little bit about sports psychology and also do a couple of athletic things along the way. In this episode of Brain Strength, I'm going to go over the why you want a mental performance consultant. In the past, I talked about the different people and the different services offered, but the big question comes down to is, why should I see any of these people? Why should I care about going to see a sports psychologist, a CMPC, a counselor? Why do I need these things in my life? To answer that question, you got to look at what does a mental performance consultant bring to the table? What are we actually teaching and working on in these sessions? And the way I'm going to relate that to is a personal trainer or a strength coach. In the strength and conditioning world, there are things called motor skill competencies. There's these basic underlying things that all athletes should be able to do if they want to perform at their best. And if they're able to do these simple things well and repeatedly, we're able to build on that and create deeper, better skills all the way to the point where all of a sudden you're running really fast. But to run really fast, you have to do a couple other things first. And these competencies are lower body unilateral movements, eccentrics and concentrics, bilateral or standing on 2 feet versus 1 foot, concentric and eccentric strength. So think for unilateral, think your Bulgarian split squats, your lunges, your bilaterals, more your back squat, your front squats, those kind of things. Then you've got upper body pushing. So push-ups, bench press, shoulder press, those kind of things. You have your upper body pulls, pull up, lat pull down, bent over row, those kind of movements. Then you have core bracing and core rotation. So the ability to twist on a golf swing or baseball, softball swing and not completely throw out your back. How to stay braced when you take a hit or a punch or a kick or a tackle. How to jump, how to throw, how to accelerate, decelerate, and then reaccelerate. Those are the basic competencies that we usually work on within the world of strength conditioning. And as I said, once an athlete is able to master these, they're able to improve on them, add more things to it to just get better, and depending on what their skill is, combine it with other things. For instance, as a jumper or a long jumper will say, you have to accelerate. You have to maintain that. That's one competency. You have to have the ability to jump. That comes in the jumping. That's the second one. You have to make sure you're not just swinging all over the place, just running down the runway like crazy and have some control over your body. That's the core piece of it, that core control component. And then you're stomping down, you're coming off of that 1 foot as you're taking that takeoff jump. That usually requires a little bit of that unilateral strength, that unilateral movement that we work on. So just in that one event, I'm working on 4 competencies, but because I've worked on, maybe some split squats or lunges, my leg is strong. I've done other plyos and bounding, which has made my jumping ability be there. I've ran, so I've accelerated. All these things come together to create the better athlete. And in the world of the physical sense, this makes sense. There's no college out there that is like, no, we don't need a strength coach. Many people at some point in their life try having a personal trainer, and it just makes sense to have these people that understand how to coach these competencies and make you better at them working with you. Even from a young age, we have our gym classes that introduce a lot of these skills so that young athletes can be exposed and slowly grow and become better at these things. However, this is not true in the mental skills world. In mental skills, there's still certain competencies that we want to hit, but rarely is there the same acceptance of, oh yeah, we need someone that can teach these things. We need someone who can develop this. There's this feeling or this sense that comes from this world that it just kind of is what it is. You are what you are there. And by doing this other hard stuff, you're just going to grow in these skills, which is not always true. So now I want to go through what these competencies are and what they kind of look like, or what they really can be. So to start out, there's usually my 4 foundational ones. There's motivation, confidence, resilience, and appraisal. So confidence, that most people understand that it's that self-belief that I can do this. I believe this can be done. There's that sense that a task is in front of you, it can be accomplished. Then there's the motivation piece. There has to be a desire to accomplish something. Like we see it so often in youth sport where the parents really want their kids to be great at this sport or that sport. But if you talk to the kid, they're like, I don't like this. And if they don't like it, they're never going to be motivated to be good at it. And they're not going to ever have the confidence or desire to believe that they can do it if they have no desire to do it. Then you have resilience. It's that bounce back ability. It's the, I just got knocked down on my butt. How am I going to get up? Am I going to be able to get up? Am I going to be able to take that loss in the first set and come back in the second set and kick butt? Can I blow a lead in the third quarter to come back and win the fourth quarter? Those are those resilience moments, those moments of getting back up and going forward. And then appraisal. Appraisal is this idea of how you label things. Do you label them as a challenge? Do you label them as a threat? How do you see the world? It's kind of that optimistic, realist, glass half full, glass half empty, glass not there kind of feeling. It has to be appropriate for the situation. And sometimes you want to be realistic with your appraisal. You want to believe that, this is going to be hard, but I'm going to get through it. Other times you want to be overly optimistic if you're in sport. If you're the 16 seed taking on the first seed in a tournament, you got to believe that, this is just a challenge. This isn't a threat. We can handle this. There's a little bit of confidence in there as well, but the appraisal also says that this is a challenge. This is something I'm going to grow from as an opportunity. It's not just a threat to me as a person. And once you start to develop those 4 skills, you can add in other things that people like to talk about. Mental toughness is one that people, especially coaches, love to preach. They love to try to bring in and find ways to teach it. Oftentimes veering towards the path of some military hoax thing that people say is like, come do this and we're going to do blah, 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 because these Navy SEALs are mentally tough, so if you do the same thing, you're going to be mentally tough. And yes, Navy SEALs, military folks are very mentally tough, but mental toughness is very specific to what's going on. It's very specific to the scenario that you are in. For instance, someone can be very mentally tough at home where they have a struggle of a home life. One parent's not there, the other's working all the time, sibling with a mental health disorder that just makes life difficult. And they can be very mentally tough there. They can be like, all right, I'm going to get through this. I'm doing this for my family. I can survive this. And then they go to school or their sport and things fall apart. Like, what? You're so mentally tough here. How can you not do here? And it comes down to the fact that mental toughness is not just a skill at its own. It's a combination of the other foundational pieces. Mental toughness comes down to you have to be motivated to want to be tough. In your home life, I'm going to be mentally tough because I got to live in this. I got to survive. I got to help my sibling have a better life. Or I got to help mom or dad with bills. I need to be tough. In sport, I do this for fun. Why do I have to be mentally tough? If there's no motivation there, there's no mental toughness. If you have no confidence, if there's no self-belief that, yes, I can do this thing, I can survive, you're not going to have mental toughness there. If you haven't developed the skill to bounce back when you've been punched down, you're not going to be able to push through the hard stuff. When things get going, when things get tough, you're not going to want to push through it because you're not sure if you're going to be able to get back up. Because that's what mental toughness is. It's going through the hard stuff and keep pushing. And then the resilience piece comes in when you get knocked down. So if there's no belief that if I get knocked down, I'm going to get back up, why am I going to push myself? So I said, you have to develop these other skills to get there. Once you get past those 4 foundational pieces, there's 4 more internal pieces that I like to go into. These internal pieces are self-awareness, stress management, regulation of emotions and mood, and then focus. Self-awareness is pretty self-explanatory. It's being aware of the emotions that are inside, the feelings you have, your bodily sensations, like understanding, like, am I hurt? Am I beat up? Am I healthy? What's kind of going on there? Am I confident right now? Am I aware of, like, oh, my confidence is shutting down right now? Stress management is being able to take stressors and just deal with them to cope with what's coming in. So it's earlier in the day you had a test that blew you away, but now you're in practice. Can I kind of regulate and push that to the side and just deal with the fact that I'm here? Coach is yelling and screaming at us, even though we're up by 15 points in the game. Can you deal with their outbursts and their negative energy to internalize just the more positivity and the things that you need to succeed? Regulation comes down to, some people need to be very excited, very up here to perform well. Some need to be extremely angry. Some need to be just this baseline level of cool and calm. Can you regulate where you want to be with that? When you become angry, can you bring yourself back down? Can you stop yourself from becoming overly happy at a moment where you need to be more focused? That's that regulation. And then focus. Can you stay here? Can you stay with what you're doing right here, right now? And then shift when you need to go somewhere else. Focus is both being here and being able to shift to the other things you need to focus on. Once again, those skills both help the foundationals as the foundationals help them. After you get past the foundational pieces, the 4 foundations, get through the internal strife and the dealing with that piece. The next part is that external communication and working with people. So you've got leadership, you've got teamwork, you've got communication skills, and you have the athlete-coach relationship, which is both coachability and just being able to read and understand your coach so that you can work together in a way that needs to happen. So leadership, can you either lead by example or use your words to show people what it means to be a better athlete, to take them to a higher level? With teamwork, can you work in a group, fill a role? Are you someone who is just kind of a role player because your talent level isn't necessarily as high? And can you fill that role as a role player instead of trying to be the star player? Instead of being the ball hog, can you deal the assist? Can you play the rebounder? Can you make the set? Lay down a block? Whatever it needs to happen, can you fill that role and understand where you fit in the giant scheme of things? Communication. How is your ability to just talk with people and send nonverbals? When you're talking in front of your teammates, is what you're saying matching what your body language and your face is saying? Those are the things that communication works on. And then the athlete-coach relationship. Do you listen to your coach? Do you go against what the coach says? Are you an extension of them to your team? But then are you also able to communicate with that coach when messages are coming from the team that, like, hey, coach, stuff ain't working. We need to change. That's where that athlete-coach relationship comes in. So all 12 of those pieces are kind of what I consider very baseline competencies. They have pieces that go into each other and help one another. A person who's confident in themselves is probably going to be better at leadership. Someone who has great self-awareness is going to be able to communicate better because they're able to figure out, like, oh, I'm saying these things, but I'm completely shut off and not even trying to look at my teammates. Like, what are you communicating there? Someone who's not self-aware does not recognize that. So these skills help each other. Just like the more you become a leader, the more confidence you can grow. And those 12 skills are why you work with someone with mental performance consulting. You go into those sessions knowing like, hey, I think I can be better at things, but I'm not so confident in myself right now. So the mental performance consultant comes in and looks like, all right, let's do things to make you feel more confident. I don't focus very well in sport, all right? Let's do some focus drills. Let's do some mindfulness, some breathing, some focus work. Or I've had cases where, I'm a senior this year. Coach wants me to be a leader on the team, but I don't really know how to lead. All right, let's work on this. Let's work on developing you as a leader, because it doesn't come natural to everyone. Sometimes you need to put in work. You have to understand what your style is, because leadership, for instance, isn't just a one-size-fits-all thing. Some people lead with the way they act, some with words, some are very intense, some are very soft. And each person has to lean into what makes them best at it, because then they're going to be more confident, and then by extension, they're going to be better at it. So why come see an MPC? Why come talk to mental performance? Because in sport, it makes sense. I've got these physical competencies I need to work on. So I go see a sport coach, I go see this, that. Maybe even I go see a personal trainer or do things on my own where I develop these skills. But on the mental side of the game, most of this stuff isn't taught. Maybe some coaches touch on it every now and then. Maybe you see a little bit, but I can't tell you any class I had during high school or college that just taught me how to focus. I never had a coach that specifically went in and taught me how to focus on things. I had them yell, focus, but that doesn't make you focus. Until I got into the work I do now, I didn't have a lot of training in self-awareness outside of a little bit of yoga that came in. And truthfully, that's something that mental performance consultants sometimes work on depending on how good they are. I'm a big mindfulness guy, so occasionally I'll bring in yoga into sessions. So that's really mental performance work to a point. Most coaches, most teachers, most people don't just get in there and teach you how to be motivated to be better. Don't ask you questions, what motivates and drives you, what makes you happy. So the reason you come see a mental performance consultant is because nobody else is going to do this for you. There's no other system built in where you're going to learn these skills unless you're doing it yourself. And while you can do that, it's a lot nicer sometimes to have someone to talk to about it. So that's it for Brain Strength today. Hope you know a little bit more about why you talk to mental performance consultants, sports psychology, whatever level they're at. And until next time, I hope if there's anything I said that irritate you or set you off, I hope you can forgive me. And if you say anything that sets me off or offends me, no, I'll forgive you. So until next time, everyone, brain strength